the end of the day, when you look at a leading marketer, what they expect out of that which we're looking to stand up, I think there are three things that they're looking for. The first is scale, right? And I'll come back and talk a little bit about each of these, but scale is critically important. The second is consistency, and the third is simplicity. So let's talk about each of them for a moment. From a scale standpoint, you have to begin to think about how do you federate a solution across the marketplace that isn't a Comcast-only solution, that isn't a Charter-only solution, that isn't a Cox-only solution. How do you begin to federate a solution horizontally across the marketplace, across multiple providers, and not just the owner companies, but other MVPDs and other video providers in the marketplace. So from a scale standpoint, it's critically important that we get beyond the boundaries of any single provider. When we think about the scale of inventory, really what we're talking about is all of the MVPD inventory in the live linear environment, the on-demand environment, as well as the digital marketplace. So how do we begin to think about aggregating impressions across the marketplace and across screens that provide the level of scale that leading national brands are looking for? So from a distribution standpoint, it's critically important that we begin to federate solutions across the marketplace from a distribution standpoint. And that's really one of the primary drivers behind the creation of the enterprise. How do we begin to federate that in those solutions? When you think about going down that list, if scale is critically important, how do we also then think about bringing a level of consistency to the marketplace? And when we talk about consistency, things like audience segment definitions. Do we all define luxury auto intender the same way? Do we bring the same level of data partnerships to the marketplace? Do we bring the same analytic relationships from a measurement standpoint to market? So how do we begin to create a level of consistency that rationalizes what is currently an irrational marketplace? So that's going to be one of our tenets. So if scale is a critical driver, consistency, marketplace consistency is going to be critically important as well. And then the third element I think really we need to pay attention to is how do we simplify this from an end-to-end solution standpoint such that it's profitable for the buy side to transact the business. Nobody doubts the sound strategy of using richer data to more precisely deliver audience and measure those audiences in more robust ways. But we've got to encase that transaction in elegant architecture from pitch to pay such that that process is simplified. So really when we think about standing up this new enterprise, those are the three areas that we're going to be critically focused on: scale, consistency, and simplicity, really around three primary drivers: data, targeting, and measurement.
What are sort of the interesting areas of data that are emerging or that you're utilizing to a greater degree to be more effective?
Well, first, when we begin talking about data, I think it's incumbent upon me, and our attorneys have always cautioned me to put the disclaimer in, which is legitimate, that whenever we deal with data, we do so in an aggregated, anonymized, privacy-compliant manner. So there's a lot of chatter in the marketplace in the digital world around usage of data. We actually welcome that conversation because we're governed by the 1984 Cable Act, probably the strongest consumer protection language in the marketplace, and that has governed our behavior in the marketplace vis-a-vis data. That being said, we think there are some exciting things we can do really to fundamentally move the TV marketplace away from a traditional age, gender, panel survey-based environment. We don't fundamentally believe that the future of television planning, buying, and measurement will sit on top of an age, gender definition and on top of a panel survey-based methodology. So the ability for us to begin to think about how do we integrate consumer data, brand data, viewership data in an anonymized, aggregated, privacy-compliant manner to bring greater levels of insight to suggest that the luxury auto intender may not just be watching early news on a broadcast TV station. Where do you find and follow that audience across time, across device? Are they found on live linear television? Do you find them on demand? Do you find them in a digital environment? So the ability for us to begin to transform the television business in the addressable space, certainly, but you're also seeing it in the national environment. In NBCU's case, Linda Yaccarino coming out into the marketplace talking about audience-based buying and planning, and Mike Rosen and their audience targeting platform. How do we begin to move the market, spot marketplace, addressable marketplace, and the national marketplace away from an age-gender definition and a panel survey-based methodology? For us, there's an opportunity to think about the marketplace in fundamental ways around data, targeting, and measurement. And that middle area that I described, the targeting notion, addressability is obviously a key component of that. We don't think that targeting is necessarily exclusively addressable. We think addressable is a tool that allows you to reach audiences. How do you, at the end of the day, what the marketer's trying to do is deliver audiences. And how do you richly define those audiences, and how do you more precisely deliver them? You could choose to precisely deliver those audiences from a contextual standpoint, from a network day part standpoint. Where do I find and follow that audience purely from a contextual environment standpoint? You might choose to target that audience on a device basis. Is that luxury auto intender found primarily on live linear TV? Do you find that audience on demand? Do you find that audience in a digital outlet? How do you find that, apply a targeting mechanism by screen, right? Could also be targeted by geo, whether it's on a DMA basis or on a zip code, aggregated zip code zone basis, and ultimately down to a household basis. So our addressable strategy is part of an overarching targeting approach that also takes into consideration various lenses: context, device, geo, and ultimately household. And clearly in the marketplace, the household addressability, that strategy is taking root and is expanding rapidly as marketers become more sophisticated in terms of their audience definition, and as the distribution side gets more sophisticated in terms of deployment and the scale around that. So when I talked previously about how do we bring scale, consistency, and simplicity to the marketplace, one of the key areas that we're going to be focused on is bringing scale to the addressable market. Currently, Comcast, for example, has 19 million addressably enabled VOD homes. Great distribution, but it's only in the Comcast footprint, right? Comcast also has about 12 million linear addressable homes for live linear television. That's great, but again, it's only in the Comcast universe. So how do we begin to harmonize that solution across MVPDs to bring greater levels of scale in the addressable marketplace? At the end of the day, Andy, the goal that we're looking to accomplish here by launching this new enterprise is, as I said previously, how do we build on the inherent strengths of TV, right? How do we build on that unmatched reach? How do we build on that unparalleled content in terms of the quality of that professionally produced video? And how do we build on that viewer engagement that we built over the years? By layering on digital-like attributes such as richer data, more precise targeting, and greater levels of measurement. And really, I think the underlying spirit of that strategy of linking those two is to really protect and grow the TV ecosystem in the face of digital competition that has begun to take dollars out of the TV marketplace because of their suggestion that they have the sole domain of rich data, precise targeting, and robust measurement. We think the combination of those assets in concert with the TV environment is really unmatched. And so for us, the ability for us to begin to think about how do we pull data back from the digital marketplace and begin to compete for the entirety of a marketing budget, including going in after direct marketing spend in the marketplace.